All right. Thank you. Welcome back. So we are still in the Small Business Bootcamp Class 1 for Spring 2024. My name is Aisha Price from Loudoun County Public Schools. And this part of the class, we're going to talk about marketing. Thank you all for joining me back to class. I want to go over some marketing concepts. We're going to start talking about target market characteristics, SWOT and competitor analysis, social media, distribution channels. We're going to talk a little bit about business websites, and we already talked about our board of directors. So, some things that you're going to be asked for your business. Anytime you start a business, people always ask questions. And so, what are some of the questions they're going to ask you? So, when you're going to networking events, people are going to say, okay, what type of service or product do you provide? Who is your target market? Where is your business primarily located? How much will your product or service cost? And why do consumers need your business? These are the 5 questions that at every marketing event, anybody's going to ask you. So, from this point on, if you decide to move forward and be a business owner, these are the questions you're going to have to answer. And we're going to go over all of those in class. But by the end of class, so by week 4, you should be able to answer some of these questions. Okay. So, what's target market? So, market research really finds gaps in the market where new products can become established. You want to measure customers' reactions to new offers. Market segmentation is dividing the market into smaller sections of customers with similar needs. And you're marketing to those sections. And when you market to those individuals, it leads to greater success. And let me go into explain with a little bit in detail. So we used to call marketing the 4 Ps. Now we defined it a little bit more and made it more comprehensive. And we're understanding that marketing includes the 7 Ps and the 7 Cs. Now you're saying, what is that, Mrs. Price? So here they are listed for you. The 7 Ps are product. So what is your product? Your price. What is it? What's the price of it? Place is the location. Well, that could be online, it could be a store, a brick and mortar. Um, Promotion. How are you promoting your products? Who are you promoting them to? What type of distribution channels you're using? The people that are using the product, process of your product or your service. And we're going to talk about SIPOC, which is supplier, input, process, output, customer. So it's really based upon you as a supplier. What are the inputs that you have to do to make the product? What are the outputs you have to do to produce the final product? What goes into that? And then what's the process of your product from start to finish? And then how does it get to the customer and what do they see? And then the physical environment. Okay. The commodities, the 7 Cs are the commodity, which is a commodity item, something that's necessity. The cost, what's the cost to the client for your service or product? How convenient is that product for them to be able to obtain it? Um, Receive it. Communication, how is it communicated to them? Corporation, what type of business you're running? Corporation, whether it's an LLC, what type of company? And then consumer, who are your consumers? And then see what are the circumstances that the consumer utilizes your product? Why do they need the product? Okay. So really segmenting your market, you're going to obtain data and identify your ideal customer. You're going to organize your target market segments. And I'm going to tell you what your target market segments are. You're going to compare customers to commodity used based on the target market segmentation. And normally, what people do is they create an avatar of their ideal target client. Okay. So, target market segmentation is really used to successfully sell a product. You identify distinct groups of customers with similar characteristics. And then the marketers, we use those market segmentations to target market the customers that will most likely buy or use a particular product. Okay, so we're going to go down in detail to that. Narrowing down the market into segments leads to a more successful product launch. Market segmentation is the natural result of the immense differences in people. So everybody has their own different characteristics. Okay, so we're going to define who your target group is following the 5 segments. And we're going to watch a video when I'm done talking about it. but we're going to talk about them a little bit. So the market segments are demographics, behavioral, sociographic, psychographic, and geographic. And I'm going to explain them in detail. Demographic is really statistical data relating to the population of particular groups within that are going to be utilizing your products. So when you're looking at what kind of client you want, you always identify based on the type of income, the nationality, family size, ethnic background, occupation, and religion. So you're really looking at, okay, based upon the product or service that I'm providing, who are the individuals that are going to be using it? What's their income? What's their nationality? What's their family size, their occupation, so forth and so on. And that's how you identify them. Then you look at the behavioral characteristics, the way in which a person acts and responds to shopping. We have people that are brand loyal, that would only buy a certain brand. They have regularity of purchases. They're individuals who rather use a credit card, or they're online or offline shoppers. They're heavy product users, and they usually would purchase a certain item. A typical expenditure would be a certain item or buy a certain item. Okay. And we'll go into detail a little bit more with those. Sociographic, it identifies individuals' connections on social media or group memberships to help marketers learn about their interests. So if you ever notice, like on Facebook and in different organizations, even at work, people are part of different groups and memberships. So a lot of times people would prefer someone within that group because that person may be a specialist in their area. And so when you're a part of different groups or memberships and organizations, you always find that individuals are more loyal to those people that are in those group memberships because they already have that trust built. Okay. And then you look at the social media traffic, what type of ads and things are those individuals are more drawn to. Okay. Psychographic, it really involves dividing your market into segments based upon values, attitudes, and interests. So it really helps us determine what media channel to use to target a client. Okay. So are we targeting someone that's a more risk taker? Are we targeting someone that's charitable? Are they a high achiever? What type of, are they more expensive, trendy brands? Are they into, sales clearances? What type of taste they like? Do they prefer email? Do they prefer physical contact? And then geographic is really segmenting your customers based on the geography. So your zip code, right? Your city, your state, the locale of where they are, their neighborhood, your population density, the climate. So when you're thinking about your product, you're thinking about who are the individuals that are going to use it in that area. And you're going to target those individuals based upon what people in that area normally purchase or normally buy or normally like to do or what they like to see. So that's really how you identify who your target market is. I know it sounds interesting, but it's true. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to give you some videos to talk about that. But if anybody has any questions, let me know. But this is normally what we do. So if you would go ahead and take a piece of paper, or you can do it on your computer, and just take a few minutes to think about, okay, demographically, the product that I'm providing, what or who, what's the income range for those individuals that you would think are going to purchase that product? What's their family size? What's their occupation? Okay. I know from my own experience, when I started breaking these down, I started to see that the individuals that I want to target are those individuals that can afford my product or service. Okay. And you're also looking at, when we talk about geographically, the area, like I talked about before. If you look at the Census Bureau, you'll see that the different characteristics of the individuals in this area. So if you're saying that you want to target individuals in Sterling, Ashburn, Centerville, Chantilly, Brambleton, Leesburg, and you're thinking about what type of product you're targeting and what type of service you're providing, you have to be really cognitive of the individuals in those certain areas and the demographics of the individuals in that area and the occupation of the individuals in that area, and also the ethnic background. What do they prefer? And those are things you have to think about. So take some time to jot that down. What are the age range of the individuals that you're going to be providing that service to? What nationality? Because it's different for each product and each service, right? And then behavioral, what type of purchases, what type of items do they normally buy? You have to think about, are individuals into more for your product, or do they care about more organic things? Are they caring about all natural, healthy, types of items? And we know that if you're interested in making that type of product, that based upon market share, the price of creating those type of products may be a little bit more, and people in that income range or in that group of individuals sociographically, they may choose to purchase that product because of the benefits. So we always talk about the cost benefit analysis, and we'll talk about that next week. So based upon what it is to create that product, the cost, all the costs that go into creating your product or your service, then you think about, can and will the market be able to pay that amount, right? And you'll find that the market is so fluid. A lot of times when people introduce a product, they don't realize that, the cost that incurred with it, and they price it too low, or they price it too high. So you have to find a medium range for that. Okay. Psychographic is really that psyche, really thinking about how these people function, how they function on a regular basis. What do they prefer to buy? Are they loyal to certain brands? So am I targeting someone who wants a high quality brand, or someone who just wants a cheaper brand? And there's nothing wrong with that, because if you remember looking at the mission statements and visions of the different businesses that we talked about last year, like Walmart, they want to be able to service all types of individuals, with maybe a lower tier income or middle tier income, and they provide different products based on that, because they know some people don't care about all of these quality brands. That doesn't have to be organic. It doesn't have to be GMO, right? Sometimes they don't care about that. But then you have clients who do care about that. So the prices reflect what type of clientele they're trying to reach. Okay. So take some time to write that down. So take a piece of paper. You can draw a picture of an avatar of a person, and I want you to at least take some time. And I'm going to go back to some of these. So geographic. So you really need to identify what location, what city, what zip code, what continent, what type of individuals are you providing or marketing for your services. So in this area, if you just think about it, like we talk about climate. My last class, I had an individual who is making more beach wear and California style clothing. So thinner clothing that's breathable, that you can wear when it's hot. So their target client is not in this area unless it's during the summer. But most of their clothing that they were making was for a different locale. So depending upon who is going to be in that area is how you're going to define who your client is, right? And then we go back to the psychographic. So that'd be more if you're looking about if they're a risk taker or are they not a risk taker, right? Maybe they tend to buy only certain brands, certain expensive brands. They only want organic or only GMO. So your price is going to reflect that. You have to look at the values, the attitudes, and interests of that target client. And sociographic is about memberships. So you think about who were those individuals in those type of memberships. Memberships are based on occupation. Memberships are based on personal interest, what people enjoy. I know I'm a part of a lot of different groups on Facebook, and I did a lot of meetups, and I'm a part of other networking groups, and they all have different interests. But when I find out that we're all in this group, I realize that some of us have similar incomes, some of us have similar goals, some of us have similar personalities. Some of us are like we're high achievers. We all are educated. We all have a higher tier income. We all have different expectations. Okay. And that doesn't mean you have to target those type of individuals. You just need to know who you're targeting. You're not being biased. You're just identifying who these individuals are, right? Behaviors is how they react when they're buying. right? I personally love to do online shopping because I love doing my Instacart and all those orders because I can see what I'm purchasing before I go to the store. I very rarely go to the grocery store. I did recently for like the Super Bowl, and it was stressful and overwhelming because I couldn't find what I wanted, and then I had to figure out where it was in the store. So I prefer online shopping, and I would pay for maybe I would do brand management depending upon certain brands. I want a certain brand for certain things, and for certain things I didn't care about a certain brand. So you really need to know who your clients are when you're target marketing them. And then different demographics, again, it's based on statistical data of who you want to target. So the type of person who's going to be able to afford your product. You're going to make this product for this type of group of individual. It doesn't matter to me what you pick, but what you have to do is have to identify them based on their income, nationality, family size, and age. For example, if someone in this area, the typical family size is 2 to 3 children, so married or single, and they may have one child or two children. And then we have the demographic of individuals in this area that are married and they have 2 or 3 children. So that's a typical demographic here. And then you also have the single individuals who are not married, or they're single or they're divorced and their children are they're empty nesters. Okay. So it's in their ethnic backgrounds, it varies. So you have to base it on who am I selling this product to? We're not being biased. We're just picking who that individual is and we're identifying it. So just take some time. Let me know when you've done that. And then I'm gonna run the videos. If you need me to run the videos, you can think about this while I'm running the videos. But I want to make sure that you do that. Because if you don't, you are going to have the misconception that you're going to be providing your product to everyone, and everyone does not need your product. And I'm just being completely honest. Okay. Um, and so and it's really not about a B2B for a family size. B2B is business to business. It's really based upon industry. Okay. So you have to think about, what industry you're going into. Think about the individuals that are going to be buying it, not you, but who do you want to buy your product, and what is their traditional income, their nationality, where do they live, what type of products they like. That's how you define who your market is. Okay. And let's go ahead, and if you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask the questions. I see your question, Diana, and I tried to answer it, but it's kind of like it's a question that doesn't combine together. Okay. So
Yeah,
family
sorry,
size.
I'll just clarify. I meant that isn't applicable to a B2B business. So if a business is a service business that's targeting B2B, that's when I say that family size isn't applicable because that doesn't matter. So then how do you define what are some examples that would be of a business that you're trying to do the same exercise for?
So a B2B is a business to another business.
Yes.
Yeah. So the thing is, yes, some of those things are not applicable, but all of those other attributes are applicable. Like the income is applicable to a B2B, right?
Mm-mm.
Right? So some of those traits are applicable. Um the income is definitely, the occupation is definitely, their ethnic background, all of those apply. But it's based on the industry. So you can't just say a general B2B because there's so many different B2Bs, right? And then a C2B, customer to business, it just depends on what the product of the industry and the service is trying to provide. So everyone has their own target market segmentation based upon the industry that they're going into, and based upon the typical type of people who would buy that product, and based upon what type of qualities they're going into the product, what service they're providing. So it's not like a general thing. So it's really based upon what you believe, the type of services that you provide, and the price of the service that you're providing, and the individuals that you believe that are going to be able to afford it. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome. But let's watch these videos and then I think it will answer your question a little bit more. But I don't want to answer it a certain way because I'm not specific into what you're asking me specifically. So I want to make sure that I understand it completely before I just say that because it's not sometimes it is applicable and sometimes it isn't. Okay, because there are a lot of B2Bs, like, if you think about insurance, right? So, like, for me, when I contact, insurance providers or my financial providers, they are business, right? So they're a business, I'm a business. And family size is applicable because they wanna know, how many people are they servicing for me? And they're looking at, okay, what is my income and what is my occupation? And they've already identified based upon how much they're gonna charge what they would charge based on the income, the occupation, family size, and all of that. Does that make sense? So they have different tiers, and you can always diversify it based on that too. Okay, so you can have more than one target client. I just want everyone to know that. So let's go ahead and run these videos so that way you can get a more understanding of it. But I just don't want to answer it in a blanket way because I don't want to be biased, if that makes sense.
That's how they're so productive. They use Fiverr. Look how quickly they find freelancers. So simple.
Yeah, but why are they working?
The job of marketing is to make potential customers and clients aware of your products and services. And marketing mix is the set of strategies for doing this. People buy a product or a service because they either want it or they need it. And if you are